Okay, I guess it's around 7:04 and quite a few of us are in here, and let's get started, because generally at Alchemy we believe starting on time and finishing on time. So maintaining that momentum of ours, let me get started with today's topic, arts essential. It's a question, and this has been bothering me too much, and the current pandemic that's affected all of us, the globe is just reeling under the pressure of this corona pandemic, and the whole world is almost rebooting itself. There are a lot of learnings that we're getting out of this exercise of pandemic that's going on. There are occasions where we see a lot of messages from people, and of course, yes, we say that nature is reclaiming its lost presence. Waters are becoming clean, air is becoming cleaner, birds and animals have reclaimed their lost property and land, and human beings are there inside. So I guess somewhere we have realized what damage we have caused to the system around us. Like all of you, I also thought a lot about this, and there's been something within me, the last 10-15 years, a loud cry has been happening within me, and I've been trying to answer myself, but this pandemic made us all sit back and reflect on who we actually are. And I guess I have something that I want to shout out loud today to you people, and hope the message goes out, and let's see what happens, because of that. Now, as we say that, through the corona pandemic, we've all learnt a lot of lessons. We have to take care of our household, we have to take care of people around us, we have to take care of small vendors, we have to take care of our nature. What about our arts? Who's going to take care of arts? I would be referring a lot to performing arts, though arts is a huge stream that goes through. I would be talking about performing arts because that is my key domain. And I guess having been in this industry for the last so many years, there's some bit of knowledge that I have about performing arts, and an authority in a small way, if not in a big way, to talk about it. Let's look at arts from a clear perspective now. I guess right from almost the middle of the 19th century till now, the significance of arts in the employment market has been going down. It's been more the STEM that has been captivating the employment zones. Science, technology, engineering, math. If you're any of these streams, then wow, there's an employability possibility. But if you are one of those who's taken up performing arts as your career, then buddy, you have trouble, you have problem. You have to face a lot of turmoil before you actually arrive there, if at all you arrive there. This has been the scenario now. Why is it like this? See, God has made the right brain and the left brain. We understand multiple intelligences. We understand how important arts is to the human being. Then why this discrimination between certain topics and arts? I would like to take this topic across 4 different zones to you today. 1, understanding arts in its true sense. 2nd, what perception did the earlier generation have for arts? 3, who's responsible for this situation? 4, what can be done? Let me take you through these things quite quickly as possible, and with as much clarity as possible. So, trying to understand arts from its true sense. What is this arts? What are performing arts? As I told you, I would keep referring to performing arts a lot, though arts has poetry writing, drawing, sculpture, so many things. It's a beautiful and a wide spectrum. I'm going to limit myself to performing arts today. So, what is performing arts basically? What is arts basically? Let's take an example and an understanding from a child's birth. When a baby is born, the mother sings lullaby to the baby. The baby responds to it. The baby responds to the sounds of nature. The baby responds to the music around it. The baby responds to the dances around it. So initially, the initial part of the life of the child as he or she is growing up, there's a lot of music, there's a lot of dance, there's a lot of storytelling, there's a lot of drama around the child, and the child grows up so happily and beautifully. Where do we lose this happiness that we started off with? Why did we lose this happiness? So which means, if a newborn baby, as it grows through, is responding to these elements of arts, we are made with performing arts. Performing arts is not anywhere outside us, it is within us. We are all built with music, dance, modulations, expressions, all these are there within us. And I don't have to prove this to you. You can go and Google and find out. A lot of researches have been done today by most premier researching institutes, and they have found that children and adults who are exposed to performing arts at an earlier stage of life, and if they can even continue as adolescent and adults, they can keep learning this skill and managing this skill, they grow out to be better and more successful human beings in life. There is a lot of proof for it. Most of the Nobel laureates, most of the researchers, scientists, entrepreneurs, leaders, the global successful leaders have all had some element of performing art exposure to them. And this has really made the difference. Now let's understand scientifically, how does this difference happen? There's a research that has been conducted, because all that we do are because of the neuron bindings here. The way the neuron bindings happen, so do we happen. And they have found through research that the neuron bindings of anybody who's exposed to performing arts is much better. The strands are much stronger, much broader, much denser than somebody who has not got an exposure to this. So if you take a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer or an architect who has had an exposure to performing arts and has been practicing or appreciating the art, is generally a more successful person than an averagely made architect or a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer or any other profession. Isn't this enough to us to prove that how important performing arts is to us? But what do we do today? We're just looking at performing arts. When I say we, I would definitely differ to discount myself from there. I don't look at it that way. But the world around looks at performing arts and performing artists as mere entertainment products. They are entertainers. They are supposed to be there for hobby and entertainment, because it has been defined today as core and non-core subjects. Now let us try and understand the impact of performing arts on our earlier generations. I'm moving on to the second topic now, to the earlier generations. So if you dive back into memory, into history, I don't think so we would have the physical memory to remember all this, but we would have read in our history and in a lot of documentation that we have learned through schooling and other processes. Most of the kings, queens, rulers, emperors, had a lot of influence of performing arts in their lives. Look at most of the successful kings. They would always have a poet in the court, they would have a dancer in the court, they would have a musician in the court, they would have a sculptor, they would have an architect. Why? Why didn't they just have decision makers, who could just take some decisions and go away? Why these people? Because they realized and they could understand, because when you learn arts, you understand human life, you understand human beings, because whatever you're doing is for a fellow human being, is for the environment around you. So unless and until you don't identify who you are, you don't identify who the people around you are, and you don't identify and connect yourself with the environment, what are you going to develop? What decision are you going to take? What are you going to do? Really is a billion-dollar question. So there were these kings, these rulers, these emperors, these global leaders who had the influence of performing arts, and that really shaped them to who they were. The Britishers did come into India, and we all know the British really worked hard to break down the belief of the Indian system. So what do we talk? We say they tried to break down our age-old education system, because India had produced one of the best scholars in the world. We had the first best universities, Nalanda and Takshashila. We had wonderful scholars who had come out with so many beautiful inventions and discoveries. But later, many thousands of years after that, somebody finds it out, somebody documents it, and they say so and so found out. This debate has been going on, and we are all aware of that. We had the best in medicine, we had the best in astronomy, we had the best in astrology, we had the best in math, we had the best in music. What did we not have? So the Britishers, we say, tried to break down our belief system. So they broke down our education system, which was more inquiry based and research based, and which is what is being followed in the so-called modern IB curriculum. So if they felt it was not good, why is the IB curriculum today, so successful across the world? Because it follows the simple age-old Indian system, the inquiry based and research based education, the IGCSE system. But what did we do? We felt shame on believing in our own systems. We changed our clothing, we changed our food, we changed our family size, we changed the way we educate ourselves, the kind of subjects we choose, the directions in we go, and where are we? We have somewhere lost ourselves. We have lost ourselves somewhere, and those people who said, shame on you, you do it this way, are following what India does. India's yoga is today so famous globally. People follow the Indian yoga system, people follow the Indian Ayurveda system, and so are our arts being followed there. They follow it so beautifully. We somewhere lost everything, and we went into certain directions, and we lost our art and our culture, which actually did the whole brain development process, and which is why so many scholars were born then. There was no stress at that point of time. People expressed. There were singers, there were poets, there were writers, there were rulers, there were warriors, there were architects. The kind of architecture we have built, fabulous. But today, do we take care of the architecture or the art or the culture? Are we proud about it? No. But the minute we step into a foreign soil, we visit their museum, we visit their art gallery, we visit their costume zone where traditional costumes are put, we wear the Scottish costumes, we wear the other costumes, we take, photographs with that. We are proud of that. Do we ever wear our own traditional costumes, take photos of that and post it on Facebook or Instagram? No. But the minute we step there, we want to do all that. And they have maintained their art and culture so well, and they're so proud about it. You would step into their soil, each and every one will feel so proud about who they are, their songs, their writers, their poets, their dancers, their theatre people. They're so proud about it. Why are we in India not proud about our own artists, our own art forms? Forget being proud. How many of them in the outside world know how many artists and how many art forms exist in India? A big question. Now to the third point. Who's responsible for this? I would think it from three different directions: policy makers, decision makers, and consumers. Now, policy makers. Who are these policy makers? The education departments. Why are we having such an education department in our country? Why is the education department in our country not thinking of holistic development? Why only a few subjects? Let me give you an example. Today you take your child to any school. Immediately they say, we are doing a whole brain development. In our school, we create dancers, we create cricketers, we create, singers. You create all of them, do you really? Then why, when the child comes to, the 11th standard and 12th standard and has to choose the groups, why are there only 4 groups? Why? Why are there only specifications to only a few subjects? So are you trying to box everybody into those 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 subjects? Then what are you talking of multiple intelligence at a younger age? What are you talking about, different dimensions of education being given at a younger age to, open up their creativity and box them into just 6 zones, which you think and the policy makers think is right to do. How can somebody decide somebody's life like that? Whereas look at all the foreign universities and colleges and schools. The kind of programs they have, the kind of bandwidth of programs. We are such a culturally and artistically rich country. So why don't we have one college, or there are a handful of colleges, I wouldn't say we don't have, but just a handful of colleges, and might be 1 or 2 or 3 schools which give performing arts as a subject. Why? Why are we losing our own credibility in the market? The second, decision makers. Now these people also play a very vital role. Who are these decision makers? These decision makers are parents, because they decide at a very young age what the child has to do. In most cases, I have seen it out of my experience. Very few places where they have let the child blossom. Always, this common comment that comes if some child says, I want to be a chef, I want to be a footballer, I want to be a dancer. You do one thing, you do your engineering, you get yourself a job, and then you look for the dancer. Why? Do you tell a doctor that you go learn cricket, become a cricketer, and then look at doing a surgery? No. So why double standard over here? Because the current situation is performing arts doesn't pay you great money to start with. And it's a struggle up there. But who caused it? Who caused it? Just because you don't know the path to travel forward, or just because you are not exposed, or anybody in your family is not exposed, how can you stop a child from dreaming? How can your child stop from connecting with his or her soul call? So the decision makers also play a key. The third are the consumers. Now consumers, I would divide them into 2 categories. One are students. Most of the students buckle under pressure. Poor students. A, they don't have a choice of group. B, peer pressure at home, parental pressure or teacher pressure or society pressure or self-inflicted pressure and fear that they have. Oh no, I don't think so, this will work out. Very true. I don't blame them. Very true. How many of them will have the guts to fight it out and come out and do it here? Very tough. Our policies and our systems and our education facility, and then getting into trying to get a break is a little tough today. I do understand, but we can make a change to it. The second type of consumers. So when we say there is no great income for them when they start off, or there are no great opportunities for them, it is not a stable livelihood, who's responsible for them? The audience. How many of us, I wouldn't build myself into that category again, I differ. How many of them outside there only go for free programs when it is a performing art program? How many of them buy tickets? Music program, dance program, theater shows, art gallery, everything is a free walk-in, walk-out. I don't want to pay money for this. Does a doctor does a free set of surgeries for everybody who comes there? Does any lawyer come out and say, I will, take your case free and we will have fun at the court? You come to the court, let us have free cases. Will an accounts person or, your auditor come and say, I will check your accounts freely forever, come, let's have fun. But then why in performing arts? There's so much of effort that goes there in preparing a particular presentation. There's so many people involved, from musician to set to dancers to costume. It's a huge industry. And most of the technicians do get paid because the artist pays it out of under his nose or throat, he's choked to pay it. But what about the artists? We don't buy tickets. We bring down the economy and the market for the artists, and then we say this is not a stable system. Do you go and get to watch a movie free in a cinema theater where they're paying the actors, film actors, they're paying them in crores. Okay? They make in crores. You still go and pay them. And then the amount of money you spend in the mall. See, these are all many questions that can be asked. So, as consumers, and then I would also blame some of the performing art production houses. There are so many of these houses who run free shows. They say we run it free. We run it free for people. Okay, they have to come and watch it free. Okay, and in turn what you do, you don't pay your artists. Now the artists are not paid, so all of them are, part-timers who come and go. They're already in a college or school, or they're working somewhere. There's so many part-timers. So where are you building the artistic fraternity? So there are some of the performing artist people also who are responsible for this damage. Why free shows? Why can't people buy? Do you get a pizza free? Do you get a Coke free? Do you get a chips packet free? But you get an entire theatre production which practices for 40, 50, 60 hours. They would have spent around 50, 60, 70, 80,000 rupees on the entire process, goes free to people. Just for them to come, clap hands and go. And even for that, people have to keep sending invitations because we've made it that cheap out there. So I guess it's high time we change. And the fourth segment of my talk is, how do we change it? I'm not going to say how do we change it, because I guess the decision and the solution all of us know. I'm not here to preach. I'm not here to come and say this is what is to be done, this is how it is to be done. We all know what is to be done. My request to all of us today is, let's sit back, let's reflect. We are a culturally rich country. We are an artistically rich country. Let's be proud of our culture. Let's be proud of our arts, and let's make sure artists and artisans today, live long for so many wonderful things to happen in our country. I guess I've shared what I wanted to share with you people. So if any of you want to chat up, you could give a request and I could take your calls, we could talk, or if you want to give a suggestion or if you want to give a feedback, you could also chat up. I throw the session open now to all of us. Any questions coming up? Okay, I see a lot of likes that are coming up now. Thank you guys. A lot of people are liking. But I hope, this goes beyond the normal forward and like and clap, and we seriously get into some sort of an action. Okay, Maha ma'am, thank you. You say very well spoken. Thank you. But it was a shout out to everybody. It was a shout out to everybody. I'm sure, a lot of us are going to think about it. We are seriously going to take this up, and we are seriously going to see how we can create a difference, because Alchemy has always believed in making a difference into the society. I have somebody who says this is a bang on. It's very true. Performing arts needs a boost. Very well said. Oh, thank you, Ramya. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that thought. Okay, Mahalakshmi says, well-deserved shout. Yeah. Uma, thank you. She says, sir, you're so right. We need all your support. We need all your hands to join us, because one shout cannot do much. We all need to shout out. We all need to shout out loud. Even in the current economic policy, if you see, we have her finance minister, announcing economic relief for so many people. Nowhere there is a mention of arts and artists. There's so many art classes that are closed, dance classes closed, music classes closed, drama classes closed, auditoriums closed. What is going to be done to all this? There's a relief for MSME, but from what I can see in the economic policies that have come out is, arts and artists are nowhere in this picture. Very sad. Okay, somebody says there, how do you think you can bring relevance to the many art forms again, like we seem to have stopped liking many art forms, saying they are old? Can there be a way to bring them back in the new environment? Entertainment. Of course, yes. Of course, yes. Yoga was lost for some time. It needed somebody like Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji to say that yoga is India's root, and he started demonstrating it. I think so. Somebody at the top order needs to climb it up. We all need to gain a momentum into it. And arts has evolved through its way. Art never dies, it identifies itself. Do we say that, because computers have come and iPhones have come or iMacs have come, or rather today that, when you talk, the system can type it automatically, writing has lost its charm? Writers are still there. We write for the modern age. So we perform for the modernity. Arts is not lost, it gets adapted. Like how due to Corona we adapt ourselves and move forward. As long as arts can be adapted well, it can definitely move forward. Sir, very well said. People should believe the word exposure won't pay our bills. Well said, sir. Good shout out. Thank you, Vishnu. Abhi says, sir, very well spoken. One question, why do these people who are heading this education not seeing the bad things about our education system? I wouldn't say it bad things. I guess they're just focusing around one aspect of it. It is not happening today, or it is not something that has happened today or yesterday, dear. This is something that has happened from the middle of the 19th century. We have been brainwashed to go into this system. We need to wake up now and come out of the system and walk out. So it has to be a huge policy change, which is why I said policy makers, And today we see there are so many IB schools coming up in the country, so many IGCSE schools coming up in the country. Why? Because our CBSE is not able to answer certain demands that are required. And the IB and the IGCSE schools are all focused with branding from abroad. So we want to do what we used to do before with a foreign partner. See, that is how we have gone into. I guess we need to shout it out loud. Yeah, fantastically said. Ramya says there, beautiful. Earth is an without art. Beautifully said. Thank you so much. That really builds a lot of confidence into me now that, I've been speaking in the right direction and the shout out is quite clear. Fantastically said. Okay, I guess there's somebody else trying to reach over there. Talking to all of you. It was fantastic, expressing my thoughts. I feel very light now that I've been at least able to express my thoughts that have been suffocating me for some time. And I'm happy that at least a handful of people have heard it now. And let us look at making a difference. Somebody says, sir, people buy tickets for movies, but they don't buy tickets for drama. Of course, yes. Just not drama, for many other things. We have to stop this process of free invitations. We have somebody saying, Shri Padma Ganapati. Hi, Padma. Fantastic. Vocational plus academic school is the need of the hour. What are the real life challenges in forming such a school? Yeah, I guess it is the mindset. It is the mindset. And I guess our government today is bringing in and focusing on a lot of vocational education programs that are coming up, but it's still going on with carpentry and plumbing and tailoring and things, which are also arts. I guess we have to push in performing arts there, and I guess we need to look at such things. Sahana says, sir, what should we do to make art just as sought after as any other profession? I guess we need to believe. We need to start taking bold decisions. I took a bold decision, 17 years back, that this is where I'm going to live. Though I had alternative options like many others in life, I decided I'm going to set up an art academy. I'm going to nurture arts and artistic skills into a lot of young minds, and I do that. I guess we need many more thousands of people like this to take such bold decisions and walk forward. Like how they said, I get reminded of Devar Magan here, where Shivaji tells to Kamala Hassan, Vedaya Vedakeno, அது மரமா மாறும், பழம் வரும், பழத்தை ருசிச்சு சாப்பிடுவாங்க. ஆனா பழத்தை ருசிச்சு சாப்பிடுற அன்னைக்கு நாம உயிரோட இருக்க மாட்டோம். ஆனா விதை விதைச்சது அந்த மாதிரி நிறைய பேர் விதைய விதைக்க வரணும். Please come forward to sow your seeds here. And we will see, at least, because this has been done, degraded over generations. So we have to, we will need a few generations to reach there. We might not be alive to see the reclaim of what arts will do to the society, but at least our souls will be happy we sowed the seed. Let's do it. Right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It was fantastic interacting with all of you. But if any of you have any further suggestions and if we could do something great, you are welcome to write to me at alchemyadayar@gmail.com. A very simple email ID, alchemy, ALCHEMYADYAR @gmail.com. Let us connect, let us think. One hand cannot make the clap, two hands can. And if there are many hands, we make noise. Let's make the noise. Thank you so much. Thank you for this evening. I hope I will see you very soon. If there's something more interesting coming up, I will come live soon again and talk to all of you. Thank you so much for the time that you spent to hear out what I had to tell. Bye.